Episode number 113. Richie looked on his fingers, and said to himself, "She will arrive," she says, 4 or 5 days after having received the money. It will require 4 or 5 days for the transmission of the money, 4 or 5 days for it to return. That makes 10 days. Now, allowing for contrary winds, accidents, and a woman's weakness, there are 12 days. "Well, Monsieur Duke," said the king, "have you made your calculations?" "Yes, sir. Today is the 20th of September. The aldermen of the city give a fete on the 3rd of October. That will fall in wonderfully well. You will not appear to have gone out of your way to please the queen." Then the cardinal added, "Apropos, sir, do not forget to tell Her Majesty the evening before the fete that you should like to see our diamond studs become 17 Bonacieux at home." It was the second time the cardinal had mentioned these diamond studs to the king. Louis Roman XIII was struck with this insistence, and began to fancy that this recommendation concealed some mystery. More than once the king had been humiliated by the cardinal, whose police, without having yet attained the perfection of the modern police, were excellent, being better informed than himself, even upon what was going on in his own household. He hoped, then, in a conversation with Anne of Austria, to obtain some information from that conversation, and afterward to come upon his eminence with some secret, which the cardinal either knew, or did not know, but which, in either case, would raise him infinitely in the eyes of his minister. He went then to the queen, and according to custom accosted her with fresh menaces against those who surrounded her. Anne of Austria lowered her head, allowed the torrent to flow on without replying, hoping that it would cease of itself. But this was not what Louis Roman XIII meant. Louis Roman XIII wanted a discussion, from which some light or other might break, convinced as he was that the cardinal had some afterthought, and was preparing for him one of those terrible surprises which his eminence was so skillful in getting up. He arrived at this end by his persistence in accusation. "But," cried Anne of Austria, tired of these vague attacks, "but, sir, you do not tell me all that you have in your heart. What have I done, then? Let me know what crime I have committed. It is impossible that your majesty can make all this ado about a letter written to my brother." The king, attacked in a manner so direct, did not know what to answer, and he thought that this was the moment for expressing the desire which he was not going to have made until the evening before the fete. "Madame," said he, with dignity, "there will shortly be a ball at the Hotel de Ville. I wish, in order to honor our the aldermen, you should appear in ceremonial costume, and above all, ornamented with the diamond studs which I gave you on your birthday. That is my answer." The answer was terrible. Anne of Austria believed that Louis Roman XIII knew all, and that the cardinal had persuaded him to employ this long dissimulation of 7 or 8 days, which, likewise, was characteristic. She became excessively pale, leaned her beautiful hand upon a console, which hand appeared then like one of wax, and looking at the king with terror in her eyes, she was unable to reply by a single syllable.